Liberate IT is an Oracle NetSuite solution provider that has been servicing Australian and New Zealand companies since 2011.
Okay, I know we've all got busy days. We'll get started with our session today. Thank you all for joining us. Those that will be joining us, I'm sure we'll be able to catch up soon enough. Today's demonstration was supposed to be by Jules and Paul. Unfortunately, due to some circumstances, Rebecca and myself will be taking this. It is quite short notice, so please excuse some of the slides that you will see, as obviously it's changed. So we'll kick straight into it. Today we have, Rebecca, can you see my screen?
I can, thank you, Katie.
You can, fantastic. Okay, so today we'll obviously be going into a NetSuite demo to give you an idea. Again, not Paul today. Just found out a few moments ago that Rebecca will be running this, so thank you, Rebecca, for your time. I would ask, as we go through the session today, if you have any specific areas or any questions that you would like us to focus on, please do drop it into the chat area, and we're happy to help out there. So really today is just a little bit of an overview of who we are, along with a NetSuite overview, and of course the demonstration Q&A can be held at the end, but of course, as I mentioned earlier, you are welcome to ask questions as we go. So, Liberate IT, we are New Zealand and Australian based. We are a trusted partner of NetSuite, and we were established back in 2011. We are New Zealand owned and operated, and we do solely focus on NetSuite implementation and training and support. We don't work with other software programs. We like to keep our core focus on NetSuite. This makes us the most experienced NetSuite company in New Zealand. And just recently as well, we also retained our 5-star status with NetSuite. We also have over 100 customers across New Zealand and Australia, so be assured we know what we're talking about when it comes to NetSuite. So I guess the traditional setup would be where you've got multiple systems and sometimes not necessarily rolling into each other, which means that your data is not centralized. However, with the NetSuite, it is a centralized database, and it means that everyone in your business, including your customers, should you utilize the portal, can get access into NetSuite, which means that you've got one database holding and retaining all the information. So the old way with ERP, I guess, is you'd have your larger businesses on SAP and Oracle, medium size, your Greentree, maybe your Great Plains, and your small size would generally be your Xero or QuickBooks, MYOB. NetSuite can actually cover across your business, whether you be small, medium, or large. And I guess one of the great things with starting with NetSuite is as your company grows, NetSuite can grow with you. And you'll see that today with the demo. So a little bit about NetSuite itself. Their philosophy is effectively it needs to be built in the cloud, it needs to be built to run a business. It is multi-tenanted, it's incredibly secure, so rest assured it is a true cloud platform. In terms of channels, of course, you've got your omni-channel, ERP, your financials, your CRM. It's covering that whole range of your business that you require. There is one world associated to NetSuite, which enables you to have multi-country. So if you do have multi-subsidiaries, you can utilize one world across multi-countries. Of course, it comes with foreign currencies as well. And in terms of industries, obviously there's a range, just a few of them here. Software, manufacturing, wholesale distribution is a great industry to utilize NetSuite. I'm not going to read all these off because they may well bore you, but just to give you an idea of some of the feature sets that you can get with NetSuite. Have obviously your standard financials, there's billing capabilities, revenue management, financial planning, financial reporting, and of course, there is consolidated reporting as well. In terms of getting deeper into that ERP feature sets, we do have the order management side, procurement, particularly good obviously when you're in that WD environment, inventory control, production control if you're in manufacturing, warehouse management, as well as SCM. To top it all off, you've got your CRM, your HCM, and your project management. What we generally do is we will work with you to ensure that you've got the right tools associated to your business. That's part of our discovery process with you. And of course, sometimes you may phase your implementation approach. So you can add these features on at a later stage. NetSuite does have an ecosystem of suite apps. So, if you want to include your payroll in there, these are built in to NetSuite itself. So they're single sign-on. We can talk to you about these and which ones we feel are more suitable for you. Out of the box, you've got over 300 reports available in NetSuite. Obviously, those reports you can view on your computer, iPad if you have one. And of course, if you've got a sales team out on the road, NetSuite does have a mobile app for them to utilize also. This is going to enable you to be able to create KPIs direct from your dashboard, which I'm sure Rebecca will show you today. Just quickly, our approach to implementation. It is very focused on your business, obviously. We do spend some time in terms of workshops to do that process mapping, that business design. We do create a project plan with tasks and deliverables. We work on a shared approach. So it's not just us doing the work for you, it's you working with us to do this. And what that does is it means that we can impart our information to you. So moving forward, you would have staff within the firm that are able to help either add in custom fields or create KPI reports, etc. But really it means that you're not consistently relying on coming back to a consulting firm to do the work for you. We work with passing on our data to you during the project, during the implementation. There is user acceptance testing required. Obviously, you need to test it before you go live. We would hate for you to go live without knowing that it's going to work. Training, of course, comes alongside of it. You do have a go live. We like to do that at the end of month, preferably not the end of your financial year, which is generally the worst time for any business. And then from the project closeout, you go into a support agreement where you'll work alongside our support team. NetSuite is huge across the world with over 40,000 organizations using NetSuite. As mentioned before, we've got over 100 clients ourselves between New Zealand and Australia. All right, with that being said, I will pass the rein over to you, Rebecca, to start the demonstration. Again, if you've got any questions, please do pop it into the chat box or the Q&A box. More than happy to help as we go along with those. And if you've got anything specific you'd like to see today, please do let me know.
Great, fantastic. Thank you, Katie. I will just share my screen. Bear with me one moment. Okay, so thank you all for joining us. As Katie mentioned, today we're going to cover off a demonstration of NetSuite. This is a very sort of high-level demonstration today where we're going to cover off talking a little bit about the dashboards, the roles. We'll go and have a look at the CRM, and then create a transaction, a sales order and a purchase order, and show how that links. Finishing off with some reporting. As Katie mentioned, please feel free to ask questions as we go, and I will stop at certain points to make sure that there are no questions. Okay, so every single user who has access to NetSuite will be provisioned at least one role. So everyone who has access will be provisioned a role, and your role governs your permissions, what you can access in the system, how you can move between screens. But what it also does is it sets up your dashboard. So when you log into NetSuite, you always come through to your main home dashboard. And the idea of your home dashboard is it is alerting you to things that you need to do, to be aware of. You can see how the company's performing or how certain areas of the company are performing. So I'm going to walk you through a couple of the key portlets on the dashboard. And the first one that we've got here is our reminders portlet. And the reminders portlet is probably one of my favorite parts of NetSuite. And I think it's where you can really see the value from a user perspective with NetSuite. The idea with the reminders portlet is it's alerting you to things that you need to be aware of to perform your job. It works like a to-do list. So we've got here 274 invoices that are overdue. That's great, but these invoices could be a couple of days old. Where the real value comes in is where you can add filters and additional criteria to a saved search. And now I can put a simple filter of how many of those overdue invoices are over 120 days. And it's really that managing by exception is when you start to see the real value out of NetSuite. The system comes pre-populated with about 120 standard reminders. And so it's about taking those reminders and tailoring them to get the information that's of interest to you. Every single field that we're capturing data for, so any field on a transaction, any field on a customer record or a supplier record or a contact record, item, any sort of piece of information we can pull through into a saved search or display on a report. Everything here is completely clickable and drillable, so I could click down into this list of overdue invoices, and you'll notice that I open up everything in a new tab, and that's because when I get into this, once I've finished, I can simply click out and I'm back to my home screen. I'm now looking at a list of all of the overdue invoices. I could pick one of these invoices and drill down further. So I can continue to drill right until I'm at that granular level of that transaction. So I can click through into the invoice, and now I can see here all of the details of the invoice. So who the customer is, any terms, and then a list of all of the items that the customer has purchased. From here, I could drill down into the item, or I could drill down into my customer record. And then, as I mentioned before, we can simply click that out and I'm back to my home dashboard. One of the other really neat things about NetSuite is everything is live. So one of the areas that we've got is NetSuite, as well as being available, through PC, it's also available through mobile apps. So there's a NetSuite mobile app for Android and iOS, and that really allows people who are out in the field, or your sales reps, your sales team, other members of the team who are incurring expenses. And so one of the things we use this all the time at Liberate IT, we use NetSuite on a daily basis. And so if we go out and we incur our own expense, we take a photo of the receipt, we load it into our NetSuite app and create an expense report. As soon as that's submitted, it's sent to the individual's supervisor. So in this case, Gerald Wong, it's come through to me. I can see a list of his expense report. So all of his expenses, he simply coded them to a specific category, put in his amount, attached the receipt via the mobile app, and I can see everything to do with this app, with his expense report. I can approve that, and then it can route off to the financial controller for payment. So really what it's trying to do is save the flurry of emails back and forth, but also the paper trail. Because everything is loaded within NetSuite, you can always access this data. So there's no need to keep around a shoebox of expenses or receipts. And obviously, once this has been approved, it removes off the list. So the list is always static and always updating. The next little portlet that we've got here is the key performance indicators. So like the reminders portlet, this is simply a list of saved searches. Again, the system comes pre-populated with standard reminders, but you can also customize and create your own. So we're looking at, we've got some things here, the value of overdue invoices, how many customers we've lost, and you can look at any different comparison periods. So some of these we're looking at this month versus last month. Others we're looking at, what is the current figure. Bank balance we're looking at today versus same day last month. You can really pick and choose your own comparison periods. And then again, everything here, you can see a little squiggly line. If I click on that, I can bring up a trend graph where I can look at that either daily, I can look at it weekly, maybe monthly, or even yearly. We can have a look at that as a bar graph, but I can also click over here and look at the comparison this year versus last year. Once I've got the graph that I'm looking for, I can simply download that as a JPEG, add it to my report that I'm creating, and click out. So it's really easy to access key bits of information very, very quickly. We've got a nice visual Kpi meter of one of these different KPIs. So I could simply choose, pick and choose from my key performance indicator list what I want to display on my Kpi meter. I'm also showing a nice visual of our top 5 sales reps by total pipeline. So I can see each of my sales reps here. Again, I can look at that information in different ways, or I could go straight through into that report. I'm now displaying a list. So we can have a look at the list of overdue invoices, and then you can put additional criteria into our Save Search. So we can have alerts, which are little images. We can highlight specific lines. We can bold certain lines. You can really add in your own criteria, and it's to alert you to key bits of information. We're now showing comparative sales. So again, another report pulling through onto that main dashboard. The idea with the roles is once you've created a role for a specific user, we create the dashboard and then we push that out to the role. So everyone within that role has the same dashboard. You can then allow users to lock that, you can lock that down so users cannot update their dashboard, or you can allow users to tinker and tailor and create the dashboard that they need. I'm looking at another list of closed sales orders. And one last thing I want to mention is the calendar. So the calendar syncs with your local Outlook calendar. So any appointments you're putting in Outlook will sync through into NetSuite and vice versa. But as well as syncing the calendar, it also syncs your emails. So you can send emails directly out of NetSuite. The reply will come back into NetSuite, but also into your Outlook calendar. So it's really trying to capture all of the information, sort of like a 360-degree view of what's happening with that customer. So we've kind of gone through the main dashboard for an administrator, but let's go and have a look at what a dashboard would look for maybe a different role. So we'll come through here into the financial controller, and one of the first things that we'll notice is that everything on this dashboard is around financial, so things that the financial controller would want to see. So our Kpi meter is about our total bank balance. All of our key performance indicators are all about income, expenses, receivables, payables. Our reminders portlet is things to approve, bills to pay, things that are overdue. One of the other things that I didn't mention with the reminders portlet is you'll notice here that you can select certain reminders to be bold, larger, and then color code them. And it separates them out. It's really the ones that you want to alert yourself to, as opposed to these are all the other ones that may be just something that I need to be aware of, but it doesn't create an action. So you can pick and choose what you want to alert yourself to. So for example, if it was a time record, I can click on this little pencil. I can say, look, I want to display it as a headline, which is going to be one of these larger sort of reminders. And then I can add a rule. So I might say, look, we want it to be green when it is equal to 1. And then I want to maybe alert it to red when it is over 5. I can save that. So now my time record has moved up to green because it's less than 5. And it's also headlined. So very easy to sort of configure the dashboard to really show it how you want to see information. And again, everything is completely drillable down into that granular level. Then we can move maybe to another role. If we go and have a look at the warehouse role. And what you'll notice here is the warehouse role is very, very simple. It's simply showing a list of reminders. These are the things that the warehouse need to be aware of, and a shortcut to a couple of key reports, save searches, and transactions that they access all the time. Often because the warehouse don't need all the pretty graphs, they just want to know, what do they have to do? What orders do they have to pick, pack, ship, and get out the door? Excuse me, one of the other things with the dashboard is you can completely change the layout. So often again, for a warehouse role, we want to make reminders, key focus. So now we've just got one big long graph. I've got also here a stock on order list that I can pick and choose whether I want to show that or hide that. And just by simply clicking on the name, I can hide that piece of information. So you can make the dashboard as busy or as simple as you like for each different user or role. And then we'll navigate back to the administrator dashboard. One of the other neat features with the home dashboard is we can change our reporting. So as I mentioned before, our key performance indicators are looking at all sorts of different comparison months, the same with our graphs. So what we want to do is maybe it's coming up to March and we're looking at preparing some financial, end of year reports. I can come through to my quick date selector and I might want to look at, hey, how are we doing this year versus last year? So I select that date period, click done, And my whole dashboard is going to completely refresh to show me all of my metrics, what we're doing this year versus last fiscal year. All of my graphs are going to refresh with the same sort of information. I can come back and I can choose maybe last month versus the same month last year. How, are we performing against there? So very, very quickly, all of that information has completely refreshed. Once I've finished, and again, I can take an image of that. I can look at that KPI. I can take a download, add it to my report. Once I've finished, I simply go back and I click my portlet date settings. And now I'm back where I was originally with my original settings. So very quickly to manipulate our dashboard. We can also add additional portlets. So we might want to add another report. I simply click on the portlet that I want. And then now it's a chance to configure that. So what sort of information am I wanting to show? So we might want to look at what are our top customers by sales. And do I want to look at that as a list, or do I want to look at it as a graph? How many do I want to show? So I want to show the top 25, and maybe I want to show that as a graph. So if we move this over here, it's showing we don't have any top 25 customers this month because we haven't got any sales to date. So I might want to, again, let's look at that this year. We've got one customer and it's Ellen's Computer Care. But again, we can change our information. So I can come through and pick, again, any comparison period I want. So now I want to look at last year. And now we've got two. So very easy to kind of, again, change and manipulate that information. Any of these portlets can be moved. So we can move information around. I might move that one up. Again, very easy to configure. Any questions so far on dashboards, users, roles before we sort of move in and have a look at some of the CRM?
Looks like everybody is very happy so far, Rebecca.
Okay, great. Okay.
Just a reminder though, you can put into the chat or into the Q&A if you do have questions.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the next little features of NetSuite is our global search. So our global search works a lot like Google search in that it starts searching for the first three characters for what you're searching for. So if I'm looking for a customer with AU, maybe Aussie office supplies, I type in AUS and it's brought up some opportunities, a campaign, a vendor, customer, some HTML files, some more vendors, and a whole lot of additional results. What I want to do is I want to filter that down just to show customers. So every record has got a prefix and it's the first sort of two characters of that record. So opportunity is OP, vendor is VE, customer is CU, item is IT, invoice is INV, very easy. So I'm going to put in CU and it's going to bring up all customers with AUS somewhere in the name. And you'll notice here with Computer House Australia, it doesn't need to start with AUS. It can just be somewhere in the name. So I'm going to go through, and we can look here, there's my Aussie office supply customer. So I'm looking for a contact called Pippa. So I've brought up, here's my contact Pippa, and she works for Ellen's Computer Care. So I'm going to go through to my contact record. Within NetSuite, contacts and customers are individual records. They are related through their relationship, but contacts can move between companies and you're typically communicating with a contact. And that's why NetSuite has them as separate records. So we're looking here at the contact record for Pippa. We've got some primary personal information about Pippa, and then we can come through to all of her contact information. We can see the companies that she works for. Now, everything you see on these screens, you can completely configure yourself during the implementation. So you might want to capture different information for your contacts. Very, very, very easy to create custom fields to record information. There might be fields on here that you don't want to capture. You can simply remove those. So again, we're showing all the companies that she works for under communication. So this is all of the communication we have sent Pippa. So these are all of the emails. Now these emails could have been sent out of NetSuite, or they could have been sent out of Outlook and synced up through the integration. But we can look through at all of these different emails, and then any activities that we have created around Pippa. So any phone calls or tasks or events. So you can use these activities internally as well as externally. So you might send yourself a task or someone else within the business to maybe send some pricing to Pippa. So you can simply create a new task. I just want to check, can you see my pop-up task box?
No, we cannot. Well, I can't.
Okay, no, that's fine. I'm just going to check stop sharing my screen and just check the sharing option so you can see my pop-ups. Okay, can you see my pop-up now?
Can. Yes.
Wonderful. So I simply clicked over here on new task and this little pop-up came. So what we want to do is we want to send new pricing. Now that's instantly come through to assign to myself, but I can assign that to anyone else within my team or anyone else within the company who has access to NetSuite. As well as popping up on the reminders portlet, I could also click notify by email, and that means they're going to get an email. Again, we can reserve time, dates and time. We can please put a message in here, please send updated pricing. Any related records. So related records are very handy, especially if we need to get, for example, accounts to contact a customer about an overdue invoice. We can attach that particular invoice. So that means that when accounts come through to call the customer, they've got all of the details on this particular task. And we simply click save. So this send new pricing task is available under the contact. It will also be available under the company, but it's also going to be available on my reminders portlet on my home screen because I have a task to do. So it's really trying to help you sort of streamline your day and without having to, write different people emails, remember what you've asked people to do, have sticky notes all over your desk. It's trying to centralize everything through NetSuite. So now if we navigate through to Alan's computer care, come through to the customer record. We can see the record looks similar, but we're now looking at the customer. So all the key information for the customer, who the sales rep is, all the contact email address, a couple of key things. So, what are the key metrics that we need to know for this particular customer? And there's some sales information here. We've got a customer scorecard, customer 360. So the customer 360 is a really neat feature in that it tries to give you a full view of what's happening with this particular customer. So our customer scorecard is just a summary of how many orders they've placed, how many of those orders have been fulfilled, invoiced, what sort of returns they're giving, the last year of sales, total invoice value. Here we can see a list of all of the open sales orders, list of all of our open invoices and credits. Our top items sold, so what are all the items that they've purchased, how many they've purchased, and the total revenue generated from those. This one here is probably my personal favourite, and it's a nice running total of the 12 months of sales. So you can see the full sales history over the last sort of 12 rolling months. The same thing with returns. So we can see all of the returns and what their return history looks like. As well as all of this transactional information, we've also got our good CRM information. So all of the contacts that work or associated with this customer, and again, all of those activities. So we can see here that here's my send new pricing task that I set myself before. And again, any email messages. So these email messages may have been sent to Pippa. And so all of these ones here that were sent to Pippa will have been sitting on that contact record. But they're also sitting on the customer record. From here, we can see also any opportunities that have been created for this customer and all of the transactions. So it's really a neat way to kind of get a really good snapshot of what's happening with that customer. And as well as the home, this customer screen, the customer also has a home dashboard or a customer dashboard. So up here next to the name, you'll see this little meter. If we click on that, it takes us through to our customer dashboard. And so the idea with the customer dashboard is it's giving us a really nice snapshot of what's happening with this customer without having to click through to multiple tabs. So we can see a timeline of quotes or sales orders. I might want to change that and look at any events, phone calls, and email messages to see what sort of communication we've had with this particular customer. Go back to having a look at our quotes and sales orders. So again, very easy to refresh information. We've got some KPIs for this particular customer. So what their sales are this fiscal year versus last fiscal year. So again, just similar to what we're looking at on our home dashboard, average days to pay, average days, overdue, really nice KPI metrics. We can see down here a list of all of the activities that are happening with this particular customer, top 5 sales by item. So again, really nice one place to go to get a good view of what's happening with the customer. And this is available for all customers. And once we're finished, we can just click view and go back to our home customer record. What we're going to do now is go through and have a look at a transaction. So I'm going to start with queries. So I've typed in COR looking for Corey's Emporium, and I can see here that we've got a prospect Corey's Emporium along with an opportunity. So what we're going to do is we can see here that we've got a prospect, and we're going to come through and start at our opportunity. So with our opportunity here, I've pre-baked this one. And so we've added a couple of items down here. And I just want to show with one click, we can process this opportunity through to a quote and then through to a sales order without having to rekey that information. So what we want to do is come up here and click quote. And what it's going to do is it's going to copy all of the key information on our opportunity, this header level information, along with all of the line items. And it will copy that information through to a quote record, so we don't have to double enter any of that information. Okay, we'll call that quote 1. And we can see here it's pulled through the sales rep and our opportunity number. And again, all of our items. I can come through and change the quantity. So I might want to change that to 100. And we might want to change this particular item down here. Oh. Ah, sorry, a little error there. So we've changed that now to 100. So I'm going to save my quote. And one of the things we'll notice is the probability on my prospect has now changed to update and match that of my quote. So you can have set statuses for your opportunities. So you might have initial discussion, maybe proposal sent, in negotiation. And so when I've created a quote, it will automatically take me through to the in proposal status. So in this case, we've got here status quote requested, and my probability is 80%. So 80% of my 110,000 will go through into my profitability reports. My pipeline reporting. So let's go through and have a look at some of that pipeline reporting. So we'll come down here into our forecast. We've got lots of different forecasting reports here. So you can see maybe forecast by sales rep. I've got forecast by summary. So let's go and have a look at the year. So we can see any forecast reports that we've got going through. My forecast, my quote here is not pulling through. Why is my quote not pulling through? Change my. Okay, so we're sitting here and we can see all of our sales reps, what forecast we've got sitting there. And so you can drill down into this and have a look at who's got what sitting in their pipeline. And again, because I've opened up a new tabs, I can click out. So now we've got this quote sitting here, it's open, and we've got a button here, sales order. So I can take this straight through to a sales order without having to rekey that information. Okay, so we've now got a sales order, and again, it's pulled through all of the key information, our sales rep. I've got a link through to our quote number, and I can see all of the items that we've purchased. I can see what we've got available on hand, and so what we've also ordered. So I can see instantly that these 2 items are going to be on back order because we don't have any available. So I'm going to come through and save my transaction. Okay, so we can now see that we've got a little blue button at the top there that says fulfill. And so we can now fulfill some of those items. It's also created our, so we've got a sales order here, it's processed my sales order, and it's created a purchase order that's linked. So we're going to go through and open up my sales order. So this item here with the two notch, you can see here that we've got some items that are committed. So anything in stock is going to be committed against my sales order. If we scroll across here, we can see that we've got a purchase order created instantly for these two items that we've got in stock. And that's because we marked them as a special order item. So that means that every time they appear on a sales order, a purchase order is automatically going to be linked and created. That is a case-by-case basis. You don't have to do that, but it's just a nice way, especially for those items that you don't carry all the time. So we can have a look at our purchase order. It's sitting here that we're needing to order to, and it's got a created from, so there's always a link next to that. So as I mentioned before, here's our little blue fulfill button. We can fulfill everything that we've currently got in stock. So we'll come through and hit fulfill. And instantly it's come through as our items to fill screen. We've got all of the items here that the system's going to send out for us. And we can save an invoice. So during the fulfillment stage, the warehouse would enter in the shipping details and the package details, and that would be the tracking detail can be sent out to your customers. Okay, so we've got our customer invoice sitting here. Again, it's pulling through the opportunity and our sales order number, and the only showing the items that have been sent. So we can save this particular invoice, and we'll go back and have a look at our sales order. Okay, so we've got our invoice that's been saved. So we're now going to navigate back to our sales order record. And we can see here the status is now partially fulfilled. So we can see here what we ordered, what has been picked, packed, fulfilled, and invoiced, but what we've still got on back order. And that's because we're waiting for those goods to come in off the purchase order. So our purchase order is currently going through an approval process. One of the other ways I just want to mention in terms of doing purchase orders is we've got the ability to do an items to order. You'll see here on my home screen, we've got items to order. So when I click through into this, we can separate this out by location or maybe supplier as well. We can filter out. But I just want to talk through one of the, this is a really neat way to manage your purchasing. So this screen here will show you what you've got available for your items, what you've currently got back ordered, so what customers have ordered that we can't fulfill, what you've currently got on order from your supplier, what your reorder point is, and your preferred stock level. So anything that hits on or below your reorder point is going to show up in this list. So for this particular item here, we've got a 5 available, but we've got a preferred stock level of 5. So taking into account our back orders and what's currently on order and our preferred stock level, it's going to give us a recommendation. So for this particular item, it's saying we need to order 5. And this one here, because we don't have any in stock, any on back order, and our preferred stock level is 3, it's going to say we need to order 3. So if I selected both of those, it's going to create me 2 different purchase orders, one for this particular vendor and one for this vendor. So instantly we can create those purchase orders. I can also come through and change the quantity. So I might say I want to order 5 because I know an order is coming through. So it's a really nice, quick, easy way to manage your purchasing. So once we've created that, I'll submit that for the 2 orders so you can see how that's going to work, and it's going to create purchase orders for these 2 different suppliers. So I'll click on the refresh button and see it's in progress. Okay, so it's now completed those 2 purchase orders. So this is another process that you can go through if you're not wanting to link your purchase orders to sales orders like what we did when we created this particular sales order over here. So now we'll go through to this particular purchase order, and I will take that off pending approval. I'll mark that as approved. And I want to receive those items, bring them into stock. And we can save and invoice this particular purchase order. So now those 2 items will be sitting in stock and will have committed themselves against that particular sales order because they were linked to that sales order. We can enter the supplier bill number and save that record. Now, using up here, we can see here that I've got a recent records. Using this recent records, I'm going to navigate back to my sales order. And we can now see that there's a blue fulfill button because those 2 items have been receipted in and they're now committed to my sales order. We don't need to go through that again because we saw that before, but we can now refulfill those 2 items. Any questions on this very sort of quick overview of sales and purchasing before we have a quick look at some of the reporting?
No questions come through at this stage, Rebecca.
Okay.
We pop onto that area now.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, so one of the other really great features about NetSuite is its strong reporting. So as I mentioned before, any information that you're capturing, we can report on. So it comes pre-configured out of the box with about 150 sort of standard reports. But, you know, under financial, we've got all the standard profit and loss, trial balance, balance sheet. So we'll go in and have a look at our profit and loss. So what I want to do is we'll go through, just stretch that out a bit. So we're looking at an income statement from the 1st of the 1st, 2019 to the 1st of the 4th, 2021. We're looking at as a total. I can come through and have a look and split that out by any one of our classifications. So often class is used to display maybe product categories. So I can come through and refresh that. And so how we manage that is during the transaction, we mark all of our transactions with classes, departments, and locations if they're applicable. So if you're using maybe class as your product category, you can assign those product categories onto your items. And so anytime they appear on a transaction, it's automatically going to post and pull through to that particular class or product category. So here, when I'm running the report, I can see accessories, computer hardware, and it pulls through to that same matrix styled P&L. I can then have a look at that as by location. So this might be locations, different warehouses that you're selling out of. And as well as looking at your department, class, location, we can also look at that by time periods. So I've looked at across multiple years. And now I can look at my P&L across those different years. So really easy to kind of manipulate that information to show it in multiple different ways. All of our reports throughout the system can be exported into Excel, PDF, Word, printed. They can be emailed or even scheduled to email to people. And these people don't need to be users of NetSuite. They can be external to NetSuite. Every report within NetSuite, we can configure it or report on it in the same way, by year, by location, department, and class. So very easy to see information, how you need to see it. I'll just go through and have a look, and we'll sort of talk a little bit about the configuration of NetSuite reporting. So we can come through and look at a nice sales by customer report. So I'm looking at 2015 to 2020, a list of all of our sales by customer. But maybe I want to split this out to see maybe by sales rep and add sales rep into there. So I can come in and customize my report, and I want to look at my sales rep. Find my sales rep name, and I want to bring that at the beginning of my report, and I want to group those two together. I then want to sort it by sales rep. So again, I'm going to come in and pick my sales rep. Make it sales rep, and I can call that, we're going to save. So now we can see all of our sales reps and the customers that belong to those sales reps. So we can consolidate that report up, so I can see out of all of my sales reps, who's got the most sales, and then I can split each one out individually to analyze that information. I've saved this search now, and I can add this to my shortcuts, which is this little star at the top. Add to shortcuts, and every time I click on it, I can open it up in a new tab. So I've saved that. So now when I'm anywhere in the screen and I want to navigate to that report, I hover over my shortcuts, and I click on there, and it takes me through to that report. So that's just a quick overview of how easy it is to customize standard NetSuite reports to show the information that you need. As I mentioned, this is a very quick, high-level overview of NetSuite. If you do have any questions, or you do want to see a specific demonstration of NetSuite and how it might suit your business, please feel free to reach out to Kpi. But if there is no further questions, I think we're at the end of our hour.
Just had a question come up directly about e-commerce. If you already have an e-commerce site, can this be integrated into NetSuite? The answer is yes, depending on the website, of course, but absolutely, if it's got an open API, we are able to work with you to get that integrated into NetSuite. Some clients, for example, have integrated in their Shopify and Magento sites. There is also other sites that we can directly you to. If you do not have an e-commerce site, we're more than happy to chat to you about that. Right, well, I think we will call that a wrap. Thank you all for attending today. Please do reach out to us if you've got any more questions. We're more than happy to help assist you. Thank you for your time, Rebecca, and jumping on at last minute. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Katie.
All right. Have a lovely day, everyone.
We hope this video gave you the information you were after. If you have any further questions, get in touch with us using the links in the description. At Liberate IT, we can provide free consulting to understand your business system requirements, understand your company growth plans, and provide free NetSuite demonstrations. For more information, visit our website.